Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the New Jersey Titans Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Tom Willms, and I have with me again the GM and head coach of the New Jersey Titans, Craig Doremus. Craig, thanks so much for taking the time this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Tommy. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Successful weekend. A two-game sweep over the Danbury Jr. Hat-Tricks after a tough weekend in Johnstown. Well, the boys certainly seem to rebound wonderfully. I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Good weekend for the guys. Happy for them. It hasn't been easy for us lately. We've struggled a bit, come up on the short end of the stick, and the guys have found a way to bounce back and respond. And obviously just stick-to-itiveness of the group has been impressive at times, where I think a lot of times it's easy to fold the tent and kind of feel sorry for yourself. Our guys have done a good job of holding themselves accountable and responding when we needed it.
We mentioned during last week's show, he's starting to get healthy just in time for heading for a good playoff push. So one of those guys who spent some time on the shelf was Evan Werner. Third game back, grabbed himself a 2-goal game and a league-leading 10th power play goal on the season. What makes him so dangerous with the extra man?
Yeah, I think Evan's just an extremely gifted, talented offensive player. And obviously, like you mentioned, on the man advantage there, leaves some more time and space and a player available. Evan does a good job of finding ice and getting the puck on his stick, and he knows, where to put it and where to fire it. And he's got a unique ability of finding the net there. And I think it makes us that much more dangerous. At all times he's on the ice, never mind when we're on the power play there. He's been a force for us all year on the power play, and I think that continues here. And I think, adding him to that unit makes us really dangerous with both of our units right now. They're playing really well, and they're a big part of our attack right now.
After a tough time last week, Christian Stover responds. He gets 37 saves, including 17 in that pivotal second period in Friday night's game. Was there anything said or even needed to be said to him leading into Friday's game, or was that all him?
No, Christian and I had a talk during the week. Just wanted to make sure he was okay physically and mentally, and see where he was. And he was. It was a bad day for Christian, which every player at this level certainly it happens to. So I just wanted to make sure we were good in terms of where he was at physically and mentally, preparation wise, going into the weekend. He reassured us that he was good to go and was ready to respond, and I think he did so. I think when you look at the games over the weekend, sometimes you could lose sight of how good a performance was in the net. And I think both nights Christian played really well, and there was times where he was really important and came up with some big saves to either maintain the lead or allow us to pull away even further.
So after falling behind early on Friday night, 5-1 win. Then on Saturday night, didn't miss one step, 9-2 victory over the Hat-Tricks. Massive performance from Blake Humphrey getting the hat-trick. He's an 0-2 heading to Providence, but he's put together a relatively seemingly quiet 14-goal season. Not a big-time flashy player. So can you give me an idea of what he brings to the table every night?
I think he brings an elite hockey brain and IQ in terms of his ability to play with the puck and make people around him more dangerous. I think Blake's best hockey is still ahead of him, which is certainly exciting considering all the accolades he's already amassed as a young player. Prior to even arriving in New Jersey, never mind the success he's had here, and I think how well he's rounded out our forward group. His competitiveness and his professionalism is so nice to work around every day. Blake wants to be the best version of himself, the best player. And he pushes himself every day. He tries to get better every day he's at the rink. And whether it's a morning skate or a practice or an extra lift here and there, I think he truly wants to become the best possible player he can. And anytime you see him, get rewarded like that, it's so fulfilling because it just makes him that much more eager and hungry to work. And his presence and demeanor in the dressing room has been really refreshing for our team. I think it's good for our players. He brings a quiet professional, but also a really good sense of humor and looseness around the guys. And I think he's the type of player that a lot of our players have gravitated towards. So I'm just thrilled to have him here and kind of, I think he's really started to find his way in our league and on our team. And we're excited for what the next few months could be for him as the New Jersey Titan as we head towards the playoffs.
Late in the second period on Saturday night, Jake LaRusso is checked from behind, drawing a 5-minute major. Even though you're up 4-1 at that point, it seemed like a really good springboard to finish off that game strong. Was there any on the bench? Did you notice any renewed intensity, focus, and, for lack of a better term, anger to get back at the Danbury after that hit to really pile up the scoreboard?
Yeah, I think the anger word is fair. Anytime any one of your players, teammates gets liberties taken against them, which is what I thought that play was, you want the team to respond, whether there's an immediate response or the ability to punish the other team on the power play. And I thought for our guys, we saw one of our players get taken advantage of in a prone situation, really dangerous play, in my opinion. I think knock on wood, we're really lucky Jake didn't get carried off there and sustain a really serious injury. I thought it was from behind and extremely late. And I think that's the play that needs to be removed from the game. Nonetheless, I thought our response was excellent. The players came together, rallied. We talked about taking advantage of the power play, and I think we did so pretty profoundly there. So, again, proud of those guys. I know I was pretty fired up about it. I'm sure the guys were as well. So happy they were able to respond and find the back of the net there.
So after the period ends, you're up 6-1 after a couple of power play goals. It felt like we were talking up in the press box during the break. Felt like things could get interesting. Now, as much as fighting is a part of the game at the pro level in the NAHL, there's just too many heavy penalties for fighting, especially in the third period. Was there a conversation in the locker room saying, guys, we're up 6-1, we've got this, let's stay away from it?
No, I think the conversation, has centered around, in terms of team philosophy and ideology. Like, I think junior hockey is a player development model in terms of exposure and whatnot. And while, yes, I think I agree with you that fighting is a part of the game, ultimately it's 15 minutes that player can't be on the ice in that immediate game, never mind any potential suspension. So we always just talk about being disciplined and smart and playing within the lines and within the whistle. So I think if we could play tough and hard and somewhat violent whistle to whistle between the lines, do it the right way, we'll encourage that. But at no means do we want to put – I don't ever want to be the type of coach to put a player's playing time in jeopardy and tell him he has to fight or has to do this. It's a part of the game. If it happens organically, I'll certainly support it as long as it's for the right reasons. But I don't want players at any point missing 15 minutes of game action where somebody could be tuning in to watch them, and now this missed opportunity for them. So, it's just a culture thing, a belief thing in our dressing room in terms of the discipline and putting the team in front of each other at all times. It's always what's best for the team. So I thought the guys did a really good job of that. And I think our identity right now is to play offense and fill the back of the net. And, those are the tools in the quote unquote fist that we're going to use.
We mentioned him earlier, Jake LaRusso, who was fine after being boarded, by the way, finished the weekend with a couple of goals, 4 assists. He's picked up points in each of his last 6 games, 6 goals, 9 assists over that time, and was just named the East Division's Player of the Week for the second time in 3 weeks. Talk about guys stepping up just in time for a playoff run. Jake has been absolutely fantastic, just about on every part of the ice. How do you feel his game has kind of moved along over the last month or so?
I think he's the model for player development in terms of having patience with talented young men and letting them grow and adapt in the junior environment, and then seeing them take that success and translate it to the college level. That's a deep statement. I know that's a lot in there, but Jake joined us a few years ago as a young O2 in the league, one of the youngest players in the league. And I think it's funny now as you've been around, so many people think he's a 20-year-old because he's been around so long and played so many games, got over 100 games played with us so far. But he still is a very young player. He just happened to break into the North American League younger than most players do. And I think his game has grown, evolved, and adapted throughout his time here. And now you're finally starting to see a kid who knows how to play the game with and without the puck. He knows how to play it in all 200 feet. He knows how to play all situations. And he's more comfortable in his skin and the time and pace of the game. It's comfortable. It's been there. And I think once players get to that level, then you could really start to see them flourish offensively. And I think that's what you're seeing. It's a coming out party of such for Jake. And we've been a big believer and supportive of him since day one. And I think his best hockey's still ahead of him. I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be one of, if not the best players ever to play in our program, considering the age and the amount of time he has here. And I just don't want him worrying about comparing himself to the Joneses or keeping up with the next guy. I want him focused on himself and his game. And if he does that, at the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of his career, he's going to be real proud of it. And I think he'll be an extremely successful, not only New Jersey Titan, but a legacy here. I think he'll be the type of kid who will be a really, really, really productive college hockey player all 4 years.
So you finish 17-4-4 at home. I'd say you've done a really good job of defending the Middletown Sports Complex. We had a very happy crowd on Saturday night, to close out the home schedule. Game solid, pretty much in control. Was that something you allowed yourself to kind of look up into the crowd, 8-2, 9-2, going, wow, this is pretty cool. We've had a pretty good run here at this building?
Yeah, more so than that, it was a little bit of reflection in terms of where we've come to where we are. Both from an R&I standpoint, early in the year, we were struggling to put together a competent junior hockey roster. To now we're out there, and like you said, a good lead against what I think is a good hockey team across the way, and also a little bit of reflection in terms of where we are as a society in the world. Got really familiar and way too comfortable playing in front of empty buildings. And with no offense to you, you were the only guy in the crowd at times. And now you see it where there's some fans here, and like I've always said, there's some really passionate, supportive people. And young kids who support our team day in and day out. And it was reflection there for a little bit. I did take a peek up. I think it might have been right after the media timeout or out the media timeout in the third. And I kind of smiled a bit and said, like, feels normal. We're playing well. We're scoring. There's some fans here. They're having a good time. You could tell they were enjoying themselves with some of the in-game entertainment as well. And it just felt like maybe we could finally look ahead here, and there's a light at the end of this dark tunnel. And it just makes me really excited now for the playoffs. Like, obviously we're not clinched yet. We have a lot of work to do in front of us, but the possibilities always seep into your brain, and just imagining the atmosphere and the environment for us to have a home playoff game and welcome even more fans back into our complex with more and more restrictions being lifted. And I think our players have responded really well to that support this year, as you stated, with the record there. Pretty impressive for those guys to go out and do that, considering it was an empty building for somewhat part of the year. And we've always talked about making Middletown a hard place for teams to come in. And I thought we've done a really solid job of that.
So now you'll have to finish the season with 5 straight on the road. It starts with a 2-game set in Maryland, starting on Thursday. 4th place for the Black Bears, so that's going to be a tough test for yourselves. They're one of the hottest teams in the team. They picked up points in 11 straight games until their loss on Tuesday. And again, as per usual for the New Jersey Titans, I'm sure it's a challenge you are looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Clint and his staff have done a really good job. They went through it a little bit early this year where they were struggling, but their teams responded as loudly and clearly as any team has in the league. Like you mentioned, they're one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in the league in terms of their strong players of late. Credit to Clint and the staff there for getting that thing on track, and the players have responded. They've been hard to play against. They've given us fits at times this year. So our players know what's at hand. We're 3 points up, even in the games played column here. So it's a big series at Maryland. We've talked about having to improve on the road, and our performances there have to improve. So great challenge for us there, staring us right in the face going to Maryland tomorrow morning. And we know it's a big series, a lot on the line. Both teams are going to be eager and hungry. I would, if I had to guess, the outside world says, well, what's the big difference between 3 and 4? But that's why we're athletes. We want to compete, and we want to be able to be the best we possibly can. So right now, that's where we're at. And I know both teams are going to be itching and raring to go.
So this week's games, again, as we mentioned, against the Maryland Black Bears down at the Piney Orchard Arena in Odenton, Maryland, just outside of D.C. Thursday, Friday, both will be 6:30 p.m. starts, and, of course, both will be on Hockey TV. Greg Doremus, man, thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck the next few days.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tommy. I appreciate it.
And there goes another edition of the New Jersey Titans Coach's Corner. My name is Tom Willms, and we'll see you real soon.